What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Tactical Chinwag podcast. I am your host, Luke Gillings, aka Original Human on YouTube, and today I'm on my own again, talking about something a little bit intimate. Now, I said in the last podcast why I'm on my own, and I will be probably for this one, probably the next one or two, is because my wife is due to give birth at any moment, and I would feel like it would be a little bit unprofessional of me to schedule people to do podcasts only to turn them down because my wife is giving birth and I need to be there for my wife and the child, etc. So I decided to take this time to talk about a few questions you asked me, talk about a few things in my life, and we'll see how that goes. The last one did pretty well. And today I'm actually going to talk about something that I have never spoke to anybody about. Apart from my wife, who actually pointed it out to me, I have never spoke to this to my parents, to my close friends, to any other member of the family. It's only been between me and my wife, and that is my eating disorder. Now, before we get started, I haven't been diagnosed from a doctor with an eating disorder, but it's starting to become very apparent over the years and years of kind of assessing my own diet that I do have a very subtle eating disorder. And today I want to talk about why that's the case, how it started, how I'm addressing it now, and where I hope to address it in the future, and also why I'm talking about this to you guys, because it's more information for you guys if you spot it in yourself, and it's very, very important. So firstly, how did this start, and what is it? So I have a problem with portion control, which is actually very, very common, and the reason this started was back in the Royal Marines. So, and a lot of people, a lot of other Royal Marines have told the same thing to me, is prior to getting into the Marines, I was on kind of like a strict-ish diet. I was very skinny, very young, and I needed a lot of calories. And when I got into a unit, well, when I got into training specifically, I had 6 meals a day, giant plates of food, because I needed them calories. And what happened was, when I got to a unit and when I left the Royal Marines, them eating habits stayed as they were, where my body wanted that amount of calories, but I wasn't burning off anywhere near as much, like nowhere near as much. And obviously, I've, as you all know, you've probably listened to some of my podcasts before. I was depressed when I left the Royal Marines, and I gained a bunch of weight. Most of that was probably alcohol and depression, and rather than the eating disorder, but it definitely didn't help. And when I eventually came to the US, I got relatively fit again, and my wife started to point these little things out. How if I would do a really strenuous long run, I would have these giant plates of food the next couple of days after. Like, subconsciously, I was trying to eat these giant plates of food, but really, truthfully, I didn't know I was doing it. And I would end up just kind of wasting away all that exercise I did. And that's why I've only been incredibly fit once, and we'll go into that, since I left the Royal Marines. And since that time I was fit, I've kind of plateaued with my fitness, and it's kind of stayed as it is. And when I came to the US after the depression, when I started to get a little bit better, I decided to go back into personal training again. So I was relatively fit. I wasn't super unfit. I was relatively fit because I was able to train other people and learn all these exercises, etc., correctly, so I could train people. And one of my big things is a lot of people would come to me about nutrition advice, and I'm no nutrition expert, but because of that, my ethos was, if I was going to kind of sell someone or tell someone to try out a certain diet, I would only do it if I would have tried it out myself. So keto, paleo, autoimmune, Atkins, vegan, plant-based, whatever diet it was, I would always try it myself before I would tell someone else to do it. And every diet had a side effect. So keto and paleo, I was very cranky. I was fit, but I was very cranky. There's loads of different things like that until I tried plant-based, which really kind of boosted my fitness through the roof. Now, I'm not trying to advocate that for anyone, and I don't care if you believe in the ethical sense or the environmental sense or any of that. I'm just talking about fitness and my specific case where it worked for me. And there's a couple of reasons why I think it worked for me. One, when I first went plant-based, we were living in Barcelona for 3 months, and it was the fittest I have been in a long, long time. I was training every day. I was incredibly fit. It was when I was doing the initial getting fit for the Royal Marine videos back before my channel got big. You can go back and watch them videos from back in like 2017, 2018, and I was incredibly fit. And the reason being was, one, I was on this new diet, this new plant-based diet, where it was obviously low calorie intake, But also, I was very, very aware of what I was eating because I didn't really know what foods were and weren't plant-based. Because you'd obviously go to the store, you'd pick up a jar of, marinara sauce for pasta, and you'd look at it and you'd be like, oh, that's got milk in it. I never knew that. So you were constantly having to assess what you were eating. And because I didn't know as many meals, I was eating a little bit less, so my portions were less than what they have been in a long time. And the mix of smaller portions, more accuracy when it comes to my food, and kind of scrutinizing what I was eating just made my fitness go through the roof. Now, since having a kid, 2 years ago, my first kid, my health has kind of plateaued again because I've got into that comfort stage where I know what meals I can eat. I wake up, I have my oats, and even though my food is relatively healthy, I do binge eat a lot when I exercise. It's something that I've just struggled. My body just craves it, and I get cranky and angry if I don't eat. And it's a psychological thing more than a fitness thing or a health thing in my perspective. Now, why am I telling you this? Why? Well, firstly, why would I even explain this to you guys? Why am I putting this into a podcast? Well, firstly, me telling someone is something that I learned from the military, that it's always good for yourself. It might help me go in the right direction. But secondly, it helps you assess your own situation and be like, okay, well, I put a bit of weight on in the past few months. Am I experiencing the same thing as what Luke's experiencing? And in my case, I haven't particularly put weight on since I did my Getting Fit for the Royal Marines when my channel got bigger. The few videos that I put up, they didn't really do so well, so I ended up stopping them. And I do hope to bring them back at some point. My fitness has kind of stayed the same as what it was then. I'm still going on these really nice long runs. We moved to a new place. There's a lot of hills around here, so I like going on them runs. But my body's struggling to recover better. I'm getting tired all the time. My energy's super low. And it's because I would go for a run and my portions were really big still. And I was struggling. And I don't mean, it kind of creeps up on you. Like, I would have a smoothie that looks healthy, but there's an ungodly amount of food in there that ends up being like 1,000-calorie smoothie. And yet then I'd still have a lunch and a dinner, and I was eating 3,000-4,000 calories a day, even though I should have really been on about 2,500 to get the goals I was doing. And there's days when I do that. There's days when I'm like super focused. Like the past 3 days, I have been incredibly focused. Not 3 days, the past week nearly now. I've been incredibly focused, and my diet has been pretty much on point. And the only reason that's the case is because my wife's helping me kind of assess my eating habits a little bit more and be like, okay, I'm craving sugar. I'll have a small piece of dark chocolate to stop that craving. And I've been kind of, looking and doing some research on kind of eating more naturally and not kind of letting my gut control me when it comes to food. And it's definitely helping. And I'm kind of throwing this idea out to you guys to kind of look at your food, look at your portions, look at your diet, have a good old assess of it, and be like, is this the way that I'm going to optimize my body? Because right now, what I've done for this past week or so has been spot on for me. It's been perfect. There has been a few meals here and there that have kind of gone out of the track a little bit, but I've managed to wheel myself back in and get back on that path again. And I want you guys to kind of assess your situation and leave a comment down below if you feel like you're in the same position where you maybe have smaller portion sizes than you should, or larger portion sizes like me that you should. Let me know in the comments down below if you have that same issue. It's something I've been fighting for a long time, and I feel like this past week I've really kind of narrowed down these ideas, and I've really tried to kind of focus myself in. Now, my wife's about to give birth, so that might get derailed after she gives birth because of the lack of sleep and basically not looking after myself and looking after Steph and the baby, because that's going to be my priority. Steph will need to recover. The baby's going to have to be cared for when they're so young. Sometimes your body and your life just goes in that direction where you have to look after someone else more than yourself. With that being said, food over exercise is one thing that is always happening. I heard this when I was a personal trainer, which I always find fascinating, that diet is much harder than fitness. Fitness is 30 minutes, an hour and a half a day, every other day. Diet is 24/7. Diet is all the time. If you're not eating and you're hungry and your body lets you know. If you've overate, your body lets you know. If you're craving something, your body lets you know. But exercising, most of the time, you ache and you don't want to go out, but it only lasts an hour and a half. Like, it's not a big deal. But for food, It's there all the time. So it is a struggle, and it is something that you should be assessing, especially if you want to go into the military, or especially if you just want to optimize your body. It's something that you should be looking at and being like, hey, maybe this needs figuring out. Maybe I should kind of write down some of the goals and see where my diet is and lined up with that. I'm not saying, hey, everyone go out and do a plant-based diet like me. What I'm saying is find a diet that works for you. What diet specific? Leave a comment down below. Did you try a plant-based and it didn't work for you? Did you try keto and it didn't work for you like me? Did you try a keto and it did work for you? Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. I think different diets work for different people depending on their environment, depending on their mindset. There's certain things that work and certain things that don't, and that's okay. I would never advocate for one diet for everyone because that's just unrealistic. And I think the plant-based diet specifically worked for me for these past 3 years. 3 years nearly now. Actually, yeah, it's 3 years this month. And it actually still is working for me in a way where it stops me from going out and eating anything because I have to look at labels now, which is a really good thing, really. It shouldn't be the idea of being plant-based that's pushed me to do that. It should be just health in general. But that's not the case. If you go to the store and you're like, I need a snack, and you look at them little protein bars or something, but hey, it's got milk in it, it stops you having that extra 500 calories that you just don't need. But, in your brain, you're fighting that, I could do with some food, my stomach's growling a little bit, So definitely take a look at your diet and assess the situation. I would love to know your stories. I know we have a very tight-knit community, so if you're watching this on YouTube, comment down below, let me know your stories, and let me know your eating habits. I'm looking to have more fitness fanatics on the podcast, like my good friend Jim Galvin that was on here not long ago, where we will go over diet, we will go over fitness and all this different stuff. And I'm hoping once the baby has arrived and all is well and it's been a month or two and everything's settled down, that I start to introduce the Getting Fit for the Royal Marine videos back again, because I think they were pretty popular back in the day, but they weren't so popular since I've started gaming content. And I'm hoping my community kind of turns that over, just like they have done with this podcast, and really brings them fitness videos back in, because they are helpful for some people, and I really think that I enjoy them more than anything, and I want to do what I enjoy at the end of the day. So, short podcast. I really, really like to know what you think about your diet or what you think about my diet in the comments down below if you're on YouTube. If you are on Spotify or iTunes, please head over to YouTube and let me know, or message me on Instagram, originalhuman_. And we'll go from there. And we'll create a discussion in the community about this, in the Original Human community. If you're on YouTube, remember links down below to all the usual stuff: Instagram, Discord, Twitter, website, merch, my second channel, and my Twitch stream where I stream Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. There's also a giveaway in there for 10 copies of Call of Duty Cold War. So yeah, that's my story, guys. I've never told anybody. Kind of nerve-wracking to put this one out, but we'll see how it goes. I love you all. Have a wonderful weekend. Train hard. Goodbye.